Hello, it's Lance, and here's the latest in Beatles news. There are two big stories to discuss, but there's a lot to wade through here. One story is about new Ringo releases, and the other is on that viral news story featuring Mark Lewison. But first, a quick editor's note because I'm the editor. So, Ringo's thoughts on Brexit. I'm not digging into that one, mainly because this is old news. The interview clip in question is from 2017. Save your brain cells and move on. I will say no more.
Please say no more.
Let's start with some super fresh news. As I've discussed before here on Beatles News, Ringo Starr has a new album coming out, and we now know some official details. It's called What's My Name, and the lead-off track, a bluesy rocker, also called What's My Name, was just released this morning, Friday, September 13th. I've linked to it and pre-order information in the description for this video. The album will be released on October 25th digitally, on CD, and yes, on vinyl, blue and black. Besides the first single, two other tracks of note for Beatles fans are on this album. One is a cover of the Motown classic Money, which of course the Fab Four often played live and recorded for with the Beatles. The other is a bigger deal, Grow Old With Me, and it features two Beatles, Ringo and Paul McCartney. This song title is familiar to a lot of fans. For example, when Paul, George, and Ringo released the quote-unquote new Beatles tracks for the anthology project, we all knew about Free as a Bird and Real Love. But there were two other John Lennon songs up for consideration in the studio. The first was Now and Then, which actually received some production from the trio before the sessions were abandoned. The second, Grow Old With Me, was reportedly not worked on at all, likely because its demo was already released on 1984's Milk and Honey. But what makes this Ringo recording special? We'll be hearing three Beatles essentially collaborate on a new song for the first time in a long time. It is John's song after all. Besides Ringo on drums and vocals and Paul on bass and vocals, we'll hear a guitar work by Joe Walsh and a string section arranged by producer and Lennon friend Jack Douglas. In the press release for the record, Ringo says, "In the strings Jack arranged for this track, if you really listen, they do one line from Here Comes the Sun. So in a way, it's the four of us." Ringo is also releasing a new book edition on October 15th, a hardback version of Another Day in the Life. So if you're not paying attention, check this out. Paul just released a book. Ringo just released a single. The Abbey Road remix is coming out soon, 2 weeks from today. Ringo's album and new book drops next month. With all this new Beatles stuff, these busy months may feel more like 1964 than 2019. George Harrison, by the way, his social media accounts are still posting about cars. Before the next story, a heads up, my two recent videos on the intersecting worlds of the Beatles and ELO frontman Jeff Lynne are getting a great response from viewers. If you haven't checked them out, please do so. And if you like this news video, please give it a thumbs up if you'd like to see more in the future. The other big Beatles news this week has been this story, published Wednesday in The Guardian. Big news, right? Well, yes and no. Here's the gist of the article. Beatles authority Mark Lewison plays an extremely rare tape for The Guardian's Richard Williams. It's a recording of a Beatles business meeting, commonly called the Boardroom tape, from 50 years ago this month. It features John, Paul, and George, with John noting the tape is being made for Ringo, who was ill and absent. There are sensational bits quoted in the article, and even Lewison underscores its importance, saying, "Doesn't that rewrite pretty much everything we thought we knew?" On the tape, via this article, we learn about how the group was considering another album after Abbey Road, something that obviously never materialized. Lennon even outlines how the tracks would be allocated, 4 each for himself, Paul, and George, and 2 for Ringo. But a post-Abbey Road album wasn't a serious option, regardless of what's heard on the tape. Dan Rivkin weighed in on this. He's an expert on the late period of the band and was a guest on this channel for my Rooftop Gig series. To me, Dan's most important point here is the timing. This tape was recorded on September 8th, 1969. And any hope that was offered by talk of another album is crushed just 12 days later when, on September 20th, John Lennon announced that he was leaving the group. He said, quote, "I want a divorce." Publicly, Paul ended the group in April of 1970, but the groundwork had clearly been laid months prior. As for the new album chatter, blame Lennon's drug use or his withdrawal. Blame the general tailspin of the group after Brian Epstein's death, or blame wishful, if unrealistic thinking. But it just wasn't meant to be. The big news here is that the tape has only been heard by a few ears and is not commonly circulated, even in the bootleg world. It'll be interesting to see if and when it is leaked or even officially released. The heart of the article here is really about Mark Lewison's UK tour discussing Abbey Road, a presentation called Hornsey Road. And we have to wonder if parts of the tape will be shared there. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time.